Good morning, everybody. This is Grant from State of the Sparks, and I am super pumped you're here. We got a little bit of a fun show today. I'm going to give you insight into what went on at NFTNYC and what you can learn about community-based marketing, what I just call community marketing, or also known as community as marketing. And no one does this like the Web3 community, but there's some learnings for you as a small business owner, as a service-based business, or anyone entering the space and trying to figure out, A, how to nail your marketing, but B, how to build community. But before any of that, we've got to cover other news. That's other news, things that hopefully uplift you, that take you outside of your echo chamber and your bubble and educate you a little bit so that you're more informed when you come back into your bubble. But before any of that, you know what we're going to do. Morning cup of gratitude. What are you grateful for this morning? What's getting you pumped, man? I got so much to be grateful for this morning. I have a ton to be grateful for. And so I'll start, but I want to hear what you're grateful for in the comments below, because if you can't start your day with gratitude, what are you even doing? So on this Monday morning, a few points of gratitude that I'm completely grateful for. Number one, I'm grateful for my partners, Austin Rickley Kindle, or Austin Rickley Kindle, otherwise known as Aussie. We got to meet up with him. He drove 6 hours down from Montreal to meet up with us in New York City. Jarrett Carpenter, my man, came down to New York City. He's just outside of Boston. We were able to hang out. We spent a ton of time with awesome people in the Web3 community. And I got to tell you, some of you might be confused. Grant, the small business coach, Grant, the guy that's building business, Grant, what is he doing with crypto? Well, some of you don't know. I've been in crypto since 2011, but what I'm geeking out about this community now is no one, not a single community blends tech, art, and community. And I mean art, visual art, audio art, or just the aesthetics of what they're doing with marketing community. No one mixes technology, art, and community like the Web3 community. Boom! Monicanta says, community building is very important. What's the big and important strategy to building a community? We're about to talk about it, my friend. We're about to get into that. But first, again, tell me what you're grateful for in the comments below. Let's talk about other news. Real quick, why do I talk about other news at all? And Monicanta, thanks for joining us. And if this is your first time watching, I often cover on Monday mornings other news, because I want to make sure that you are stepping out of your echo chamber and you're paying attention to other things going on in the world. And we also try to desensitize people to the markets, because everyone wants them to see what the markets are doing and freak out. Real quick, blowing up history. For those who don't know, you desperately need to know that the Starship, SpaceX Starship, is launching this morning, 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Now, this is groundbreaking because this is the largest or tallest spaceship ever made, and it's done on with a private company. I was going to say private money, but it's not. It's largely funded by NASA, who has given billions to SpaceX Starship to basically ferry astronauts on the Artemis mission to the moon. That's happening today. Elon Musk said this, though. He's setting expectations kind of low. He said, I guess I'd like to just set expectations low. If we get far enough away from the launch pad before something goes wrong and it blows up, great, then I think I would consider that to be a success. Just don't blow up on the pad. Apparently there's something big that if it blows up on the pad, they have to start over. Now, it's over 400 feet tall, which is about 120 meters for those in the rest of the world. And it is absolutely groundbreaking, but it might also be itself breaking if something goes wrong. So I'm going to drop a link here in the comments for you. If you are interested in learning a little bit more about what's going on and when that launch is happening and what part of the world to look at to see if you can't watch that thing take off. We're in Florida, so we can see most launches. So you've got that link in the comments below. Check that out. Real quick, let me help desensitize you to the markets. Let's talk about how the markets are opening. Boom, there we go. Real quick, in the TradFi markets, Dow's at 34,051. I've been reporting for the last few weeks. The last time I reported 5 weeks ago was at 32,000. Markets are up, right? Just a little bit, though. Just a little bit up. The S&P 500 is at 4,168. When I first reported about 5 weeks ago, it was at 3,900. Now, again, I share this because people are like, the sky is falling, markets are collapsing, you should kiss your butt goodbye, the worst is happening. The markets are largely up. The NASDAQ 500 is at 13,100. When I reported 5 weeks ago, it was at 12,600. Just steadily plodding along. It's had an up week. It's had a down week. but it's about 13,100. Now, for the DeFi markets, it's up a little bit more aggressive. The Bitcoin, or BTC, the Bitcoin, BTC is at about 29,000 for those who are paying attention. It was over 30,000 over the weekend. It's back a little bit at 29,900. When I reported 5 weeks ago, it was at 28,100. Ethereum's at 2,097. About 5 weeks ago, is at 1,700. Cardano ADA is at 44 cents. I reported 5 weeks ago at 34 cents. So it's up about 10 cents there. And XRP Ripple showing some strong growth at 51 cents. And 5 weeks ago, it was about 38 cents. I share that with you not to beat up the markets. We're not traders here, but I really want to inoculate you against the intensity of the market that tells you to be reactionary to the markets up and down. Listen, not financial advice, but what I do, I have a very tight investment plan. It's dollar cost averaging. I have a little bit of a budget for moonshots, for altcoins, for trading. And there's my man, Aussie. Apparently, he made it back home safe and sound and unplugged all day yesterday to recover from our time in New York. He spent a lot of time traveling, but we had good time hanging out. So he was recovering yesterday. Good morning, Aussie, man. Good to see you. So I just share that with you so that you're not affected emotionally. You have your own strategy on investments. And then when you hear all these crazy headlines, you can move on. So let's talk real quick what's going on in the business. Every now and again, I like to give you all insight into what's going on in the business because I don't think enough people who are sharing with you the principles of their business give you insight to the ups and downs. Real quick, just so you know, Grant, I'm here because I want to help you have a freedom framework for achieving freedom. Some of you might be chasing influencer status. Some of you might be business builders. Some of you might be project builders within the Web3 space. There's a lot of you out there doing service-based businesses even. But I try to share insight into the multiple streams of income I have just so that you get an ongoing flavor of what it takes. Real quick, I floated a contract 2 weeks ago to be a fractional CMO of a small local company. I thought that they were going to pass on it. Apparently over the weekend, they bought my contract. They put 10% or 50% down on that contract. So I got to wake up this morning once the sun comes up and start delivering on a fractional CMO role. This is the first time that I take an official position like this with a company for a limited period of time. We're going at about 3 months. Of being their fractional CMO, delivering on a marketing plan, delivering on a content and advisement, and showing them how to build community. That's what we'll be working on. On the real estate side, we were investing in a property in Cocoa, and we had our deposit down. We were going to do an FHA loan, which was 3.5%. But then they came back or the financing came back and said, no, we can't do an FHA on this loan because it's more than 100 miles from your house. Fun fact, who knew that the FHA in the United States had a 100-mile rule? Somebody did. We didn't. Neither did our financing company. So that means we have to come up with an additional $22,000 cash at cash to close. And we're not really able to negotiate too hard against that. So it's actually starting to stretch what we wanted to put into this real estate investment. So last night I told our agent, most likely we're going to pull out of the deal. We're going to try to see if we can't get a rejection letter so we can get our escrow back, which is about $3,000. We've already got about $4,500 into the property. But if we're going to put an additional $22,000, the way we have to move our other properties adds an additional $20,000 on top of that. $10,000 to set up one for renters, $10,000 to set up this one for renters. So all in all, it's going to cost us about $340,000, even though the property is being sold to us for about $315,000. The seller is giving us some seller concessions, so they're technically selling it to us for around $310,000. But the property already, all the properties around it are starting to show price cuts. So we estimate that the property isn't even necessarily worth $300,000, and we would be in it for the entire move for $350,000. We don't want to spend that extra money on this particular deal. Do we have a problem spending that money on a deal? No, so long as it's a deal. We don't feel like we're getting a deal at this point, so it looks like we're going to pull out of that property. And that's just brief insight, and I'm going to follow up. Follow me on YouTube, follow me on Twitter, follow me on LinkedIn, where I share more shorts about the nuances of a real estate deal, but that's not what you're here for. You're actually here to learn a little bit about what we've learned at NFTNYC and the takeaways about community as marketing that we're going to cover. So let's talk about that. And if you're just now popping in, I see the numbers going up, I see the numbers kind of fluctuate. If you're just now popping in, Aussie or whoever, put in the comments what you're grateful for. I want to hear you start your day with a positive spin on just, dude, this is what I'm grateful for. Let's talk about community as marketing. So, if you haven't guessed it by now, I spent last minute buying a ticket, getting a hotel room, and coordinating with my show partners for the Not Crypto Bros show to meet up at NFTNYC. This is the premier NFT event in the United States. There's other crypto events around the world. But NFT NYC has gained a lot of momentum over the years, or reputation over the years, as being the go-to event for NFTs. My good partner, Aussie, featured right there. Drove about 6 hours or more from Montreal, parked his car in a car park, and took a train all the way down to New York City. Boom, here's Aussie right here, meeting the amazing content creators that I work with in person. Let me tell you something. This was the highlight. There was a lot of fun things. We saw some crypto celebrities. We shook some awesome hands. We met some VCs. We met a gal who raised $10 million. We met the marketer that helped her raise $10 million. We put on our own networking event. All of that was awesome. But really meeting our partners and the content creators and their immediate friends. We also met one of Aussie's friends, Harley, and others who came and visited with us. It was awesome. But we also met the crypto fairies who came from as far as Australia. We met Michaela NFT from Dubai. We met Ashley Decans of of her own reputation. I won't go into that. We had a blast. But let's contrast that a little bit. Let's contrast these awesome people within the NFT community, or think of your favorite community, and then contrast that to me being in the gym this morning at 4 a.m. I get to the gym crazy early, and I was at the gym at 4 a.m. There was 18, I counted, there was 18 other people in the gym, and not one of them were in my tribe. Not one of them were in my community. I know all of these people. They're in a loose fitness community because I'm at the gym at 4 a.m. They're at the gym at 4 a.m. But some are morbidly obese, still friends, good friends, but morbidly obese. Some of them are super young and they're just doing Instagram photos and not really even working out. They're just posting for the gram. But some of them might be a target audience of mine for my small business coaching. Maybe many of them would read my goal setting book right here because they want to do more with goal setting and achieving more. Maybe they're that target audience. But are they a tight-knit community? No. So at the same time that I'm on the treadmill counting these heads and thinking through community, I'm actively on Twitter, actively specifically in this moment, in crypto Twitter and small business Twitter, and building up relationships. I'm actively communicating in DM with several of the people I met at 4 in the morning. Some of them are just going to bed. Some of us are just getting up. But I know them, and now I have even met them in real life. And even though we're hundreds of miles away and I'm on Twitter and they're on Twitter, maybe they're laying in bed going to sleep, maybe they're actually headed to the gym and we're just chatting, we're all building up our relationship and our rapport. So I want to paint this contrast of this group of people that come together. And if you ask them why they're there, why did people come to NFT NYC? Maybe it was the parties. Maybe it was the satellite events. Maybe it was the art and they wanted to display their art and see other art. Maybe it was to cosplay as their characters, but then actually speak on the stages and build up their following. But if you could summarize all of them, they would say we're there for the community. Now, mind you, at their latest local business networking event, you might have had people that would say the same thing. We're at this local business event for the community. But the truth is that they're there for the networking. They're really only there to see how they can convert this audience into money in their pocket. And when you're talking about community, you're not necessarily talking about closing the deal. In fact, me and the Not Crypto Bros, we actually coached one another and we said, hey guys, what's going to be our MO while we're at NFT NYC? We said, well, A, let's build friends. B, the rule of the things we won't do. And there was only one rule of what we didn't do while we were at NFT NYC, and that was this: no pitching. How many times have you been to a networking event and they said they're there from the community, but all you do is get pitched the entire time? At NFT NYC, though everyone was curious what projects everyone else was working on, very few people actually pitched me. I might have asked someone about their NFT game and we got a bunch of collector's cards. Here's some of the collector's cards from one of the games we were at. We might have talked to people and founders about what they were doing with NFT clothing and NFT art. And by that, I mean very real clothing with augmented reality. I could be on the show with a whole outfit that was only augmented reality, but live on the show because of the NFT I was wearing. Very interesting, cool stuff, but very few people actually hard pitched us. Contrast that to the average networking event, a local networking event, and though they say they're there for community, chances are they're there to try to close a deal. This is kind of the desperation, the person going on a date who's only there to hook up, and you can smell it on them like a pheromone. It's tasteless. It's tacky. Now, I want to add one element to this real quick. That was some of our experiences, and we were geeking out at meeting each other as a community For the first time, I've been working with Aussie for, I think, over a year. I know I've been working with Jarrett of More Than Blockchain for definitely close to 2 years. And this was the first time we had ever met in person. We were there for the community. Now, as we know, as the internet expands, as AI takes on, we're seeing a higher and higher premium on IRL. And you've probably heard people say this. There's a growing premium. Aussie says over a year. Definitely, man. Yes, Schedule.me. Aussie has a project, Schedule.me. He's part of the Obsidian Council. He's got decentralized news, got a lot of projects. He has trading bots with, not Foundation, Bedrock, with Bedrock Trading. They've got a lot going on. And of course, we have our own show together and our own projects. There's a premium happening on IRL, in real life events. The more people work through Zoom, the more we have worked remotely because of the pandemic, the more people are getting into Oculus and augmented reality and virtual reality and the metaverse in general. And by metaverse, I now also include spending a lot of time in the Twitter spaces or the Instagram spaces or your social media network, where your people are at. Surprisingly, a lot of crypto people are in either Twitter or LinkedIn. There's a lot of crypto people in LinkedIn, and that's a thriving community. So this new premium on IRL, but there's a caveat to the premium on in real life events, and it's this. There is a decreasing demand for in real life events that's scattershot, just business networking. These will never take off as much as in real life events with your tribe. Now, we've known this, and this is known. Conferences aren't new. Expos aren't new. But even at the local level, people want to spend more and more time, even if it's networking, with no one but their tribe. People that speak their lingo. People that understand what they're talking about. Now, I'm not talking about us all going to a website conference. We can't sell websites to web designers at website conferences. Of course, we have to be around other people. And of course, we have to niche. But for the most part, the premium that is put on IRL events is IRL events with your tribe and finding what that tribe is and codifying that tribe and having a language set for that tribe. You see, there's way too many inputs and too many humans. I want to give you an example. As we walked around Times Square, we were going to our own networking event. And these were people within our tribe, but various places in their tribe. We were meeting up at Connolly's just off of Times Square, a historic place. We had a blast. It was a great place. If you're ever in Times Square, please go grab a beer or a lager or dinner or lunch at Connolly's. We had a blast, and they were very gracious to host our event. They stanchioned off a side, and we had a good 20 or 30 people just networking and sharing their awesome projects. Now, as we made our way to Connolly's, I couldn't help but notice the diversity, especially of Times Square. But the thing about when we talk about the melting pot of America, chances are we're talking about New York City, if you can imagine the variety of people, but also the variety of classes. And this stood out to me extremely tight as I walked by a very high-end restaurant. We walked by a high-end restaurant. There was a maitre d' dressed to the nines out front. There were people in Balenciaga and high heels and dresses and beautiful attire who were being vetted to come into this high-end restaurant. You could tell that you had to make reservations, and Grant, with his thighs out, probably could not get in. There was a dress code to this place. There was beautiful music coming in. There was beautiful smells coming from the place. And as I kept walking down the street, I couldn't help but notice this. That just then, once they got in, this couple were walked in and then walked to the patio. Now, what was the patio? The patio was a jutting space into the sidewalk. And just overhead, there was construction and orange tape and loud jackhammer noises and loud honking taxis. And then just as I walked by this, I literally saw a homeless man pooping. Aussie says, there's no way we would have gotten in there. Not one iota, my brother. These people were paying a premium for a high-end dinner, and just 10 feet away, there was a man pooping himself. Other people without their shirts on, tourists with beer bellies out, jackhammers and noises. But these fine dining people tuned it all out. In fact, everyone was tuning everyone else out. You see, in an overwhelming glut of content from AI, in an overwhelming glut of news, and an overwhelming shoulder-to-shoulder population, our earth is starting to fill up with more and more people, and even your local small town is getting busy. Even my local small town of Lakeland, Florida, which used to have a general store that sold root beer candy out of wooden barrels, went away and has now been replaced by bars and high-end restaurants and service companies and retail shops. Every small town itself is starting to fill up. In fact, Lakeland's one of the fastest growing towns in Florida right now, aside from Miami. My point is, as there becomes more and more inputs, humans get better and better at tuning other humans out. Now tie this to your marketing. We're getting better and better at tuning out interruptive marketing. Whether it's ads or banner ads or Facebook serving up ads on the side or someone blaring a horn or sign spinners in the street, our amygdala is no longer even letting that through our neocortex. It's science. Just look at it and research what's going on as your brain is filtering out, as your limbic system is filtering out background noise from what really matters to you. So what are people letting through their amygdala to their neocortex? Well, it's just like the savannah tribes. In short, when it came to tribes on the savannah in humans' history, we began filtering the world out. We began filtering everything out. Why do tribes dress a certain way? Why do tribes have certain face paint? Why do tribes have certain headdresses? Why do tribes cut themselves in a certain way or tell certain stories? So that they can identify who is like them. And so that they can protect themselves from or filter out who is not like them. Now, I'm saying something that to you might go, well, that's obvious. It's obvious, but when was the last time you actually thought about applying this to your marketing? Who is like me? Too often with our small business, with our service companies, with our project, we're trying to think, who can I sell to? And that does need to be asked. It is an important question to ask. Who can I sell my services to? Who can I sell my SaaS to? But the most important question is who is like me? And by proxy, who actually even likes me? Now, not everyone likes us. And in this people-pleasing world, we can get frustrated if people don't like us enough. You might be a people pleaser. But all you have to do is ask yourself, who is like me? How do you actually hang your tag out there and ask the question, who is like me? And therefore, they're asking the same question, who is like me? And if you are like them and also have a service that they're aware of, they'll do business with you. And for ages, the answer to the question of who is like me, the answer has largely been who lives near me. Geography. Who is in my small business community? Now, we've known for nearly 2 or 3 decades that the answer with the internet has transcended geography. But if you actually look at small business behavior, it looks like they haven't realized this yet. I can't tell you that as a website design company who helps several niches, including influencers, catalysts, and now crypto companies. We help crypto companies with solid website design. I serve a lot of small businesses, and aside from the crypto company and the influencers, most other small businesses still think locally. Now, that's okay. They're a service-based company. It's easy to serve people who have a geographic reach, and that makes sense. But here's the catch with that. Those local businesses, those local consumers will only do business with these local services at the local level, but they're still making their decision by looking online first. So their behavior is shifting. They don't walk outside and look for yard signs. Their amygdala and their limbic system is filtering that out, and it's not hitting their neocortex. They're making the decision right here through that little camera on who is not only like them geographically, but who do they like? Know, like, and trust are the principles of marketing. This is a mega shift that's happening, that even though local consumers consuming local services will only do business, especially with service-based companies at the local level, their preliminary filter is through online. And I know this sounds obvious, but so many of you are acting like it's not obvious, so I feel like I have to say this. This is why I love the NFT community. They are digital first. They are virtual first. Influencers are backing into the fact that influencers, they do get famous at a local level because their local people start liking, sharing, and commenting, but then they soon expand beyond that. But the thing I like about the crypto community is they start remote first. So what are a few quick principles that you can take away and apply to yourself that we can learn from NFTNYC for Community First? I witnessed a particular NFT collection, DGods. I say collection, I should say community. A particular NFT community. They put community first. They might talk about the art. They might talk about utility. They might talk about a lot of things. But what they really focused in on is scavenger hunts, hanging out, parties, introducing each other to their friends, community. Too often, when we hear the word community from a small business context, we forget what it was like to make friends in high school. We forget what it was like to make friends without trying to get a transaction on the back end. And no one has done this better, I believe, than at NFTNYC, than the D-Gods community, maybe the Nakamigos. We could talk about these things later. So what I learned from observing them and what we could be doing better with the Not Crypto Bro show, what we could be doing better with Spark Sites, what we could be doing with all of our small businesses, and that is building community, and not only building community, but owning that community as marketing is different than organic marketing and different than paid marketing, obviously. It's something far more. It's something that actually defers the transactional nature of the relationship indefinitely. Community defers a desire for a transaction nearly indefinitely. And a lot of small business networking communities give lip service to that, but they very rarely live it out. Let me give you 5 quick principles that I extracted that you could borrow as I'm forming my own rubric of what is community marketing. Community as marketing, community marketing. I think we should write an ebook about this, so I'm just exploring these thoughts. So bear with me real quick, the 5 quick things. Community as marketing is beyond niche. When you talk about a niche, the baggage that comes with the word niche, now the baggage is which niche of people will give me money? It's an important question to ask if you have a business or a transaction you do need to make. You do have to ask that question, but community marketing asks that question at some point in the process, but it goes far beyond that. It's more than the business that person is in. When you think about a niche, you think, what business are they in? What are their needs? Some may not even know what they're doing as a business. You could have a niche, and that niche is people that don't know. My goal setting book has a target demographic or psychographic of people that don't know what they want to do necessarily. Or maybe they know that they want to do too many things, and they don't know how to narrow that down into the one thing they want to do. It needs to go, community marketing goes beyond niche. Now, I might have mentioned several niches. I mentioned that for the website company, we help influencers. We do help some small businesses still, but those small businesses have to have vision-based or visionary leaders. And now crypto and Web3 companies, we do websites. Now, these are 3 niches. Now, which do I target with my marketing? When you often talk about niche, you're often talking about marketing. You're often talking about the content I'm putting out there to try to attract these people. But that's not community building. That's not community as marketing. So community as marketing goes beyond niche. The second principle is this. You're looking for a specific set of psychographic traits in a community. Now, you might have your own traits in a psychographic community. And oftentimes when we talk about niche, a lot of marketers might talk about psychographics. I want manufacturers who are upset with their previous website designers. That could be a psychographic trait, an upset group of people. But as you're talking about building community, do you really want to build a community with a bunch of upset people? Now, we know that that's the state they're in when they meet you, but is that the sort of community you want to build? Let me offer a few that we believe are supremely important when you build community as marketing. Number 1, ambitious. We want to be surrounded because that's what we want to be. Remember, you're looking for people who are like you, but also people who will like you. And so we want to be around ambitious people. We want to be ambitious people. Curious. We want to be around curious people. Too many small business owners are starting to say, this technology is too much. AI is too much. I'm done with that. I can't do it all. Social media is too much. I get that. But if you replace that with, I'm curious about that, you can still feel that it's overwhelming. But if you don't lead with curiosity, you are actually drawing a line in the sand on your development. You've grown as much as you can grow, and that's the end of it. Because curiosity will open you up to the new channels that consumers are moving to, new channels that the community is moving to. I guarantee you could be in your 50s and still find a community virtually on Twitter, on LinkedIn, and these communities that are virtual that want to meet up, that enrich your life. So the second principle of community marketing is you want psychographic traits that are ambitious, curious and open. And by open, I also mean vulnerable. I can't tell you how many people just got radically transparent with me and just shared their life. If you ask people in your community, hey, what's your goal? And they just get gut level honest and vulnerable. Now you know you're approaching a real community because they feel safe around you. They feel that you'll understand. They might live in their IRL life and no one understands their ambitions. When you're around your community, they understand your ambitions. So the fourth thing is vulnerable. Fifth thing is kind. When someone gets vulnerable with you, you should reciprocate with kindness. You should affirm it. You should ask introspective questions. Hey, that's interesting. How do you think you could do X, Y, and Z with that? You should be kind in turn. And let's not forget the sixth one. There's something that's very important for community, and that is your community has fun in its own way. Now, maybe fun for you is a scavenger hunt around New York City. Maybe fun for you is coffee around a table talking about the philosophies of the field you're in. I know that was a way that we had fun with our community at NFTNYC. Meeting Jackie Roach and Matt at Salesforce and Jarrett, we sat at Bryant Park and just talked about the philosophy of what we were into, the spirituality of this field. That was fun for us. But what is fun for you? What is fun? Ambitious, curious, open, vulnerable, kind, and fun. Your community needs to have these psychographic traits, and they look the way you want them to look, the way the community wants them to look. Don't be prescriptive about how that looks. The third thing, for a community to thrive, it must move fluidly now. It was different pre-internet. It was different pre-industrial era. Right now, I believe that a thriving community, especially community as marketing, has to fluidly move between online and offline. They need to be comfortable sitting in front of a camera with no one in this studio right now, no music, no hype. All I see is numbers, and I just hope you're hearing this, or I hope you hear this later. They have to be comfortable with this. They don't have to be animated like me. They could be introverted. But you have to be comfortable moving fluidly offline and offline. And this is not about being tech savvy. This is not about being extroverted. You might find that the tool of your trade is Twitter, which is just verbal. It's typing out thoughts, quips, ideas, reflections, responses. Moving fluidly from that to being able to talk to that same individual you were just tweeting with offline. Meeting over coffee. I was so full of gratitude that when I met Jackie Roach and sat with Jarrett, we picked up exactly where we left off energetically. We were the same online as we were offline. This is not about the tools to connect. Whether you're using Slack, LinkedIn, Zoom, YouTube, Twitter, it doesn't matter. It's tool agnostic. Community as marketing is your ability to move fluidly into any of them in order to discover where your community is. I found out that some of my Twitter community also is a little bit on Instagram. Not a lot. You can't interact like on Instagram like you can on Twitter. Twitter has a higher interactivity rate. So being able to move fluidly among tools in order to connect with your community, because that's the point. Well, I can do paid ads on LinkedIn or Facebook much better. Yeah, I bet you could. But paid ads is not community marketing. Paid ads is organic or paid marketing. That's something else. You're looking for a transaction, which is important if you have a sustainable business, granted. But adding community marketing as a leg makes sure that you move fluidly online and offline, which leads us to the fourth point. Authenticity across all platforms and in real life. You have to start being you. If you drop the F-bomb at 6 a.m., be that person. If you want to talk about gender, be that person. If you want to talk politics, be that person. If you're fun, be that person. If you're a stick in the mud or if you're introverted, be that person too. No matter who you are, the authenticity is a cornerstone of who you are. I was so grateful that when Aussie right here, walked downstairs to join us in the bar after a long travel day and sat down, he was exactly who I pictured him to be in the metaverse, at the meta layer when we do our Zoom calls. I was so grateful that I noticed my partner Jarrett based on the way he walked. When I saw him in person for the first time, I saw him first. He was walking crossways. I walked towards him. I recognized him because he moved, talked, and it was generally exactly who he was online. I was so full of gratitude for that encounter. How many times have you been catfished? And I don't mean in a dating scenario. I literally mean catfish because you just thought you were going to have a friendship with someone in real life that you met online and it just wasn't the same. You felt like you got totally rug pulled on that. You don't want to do that for other people. So the fourth principle of community marketing is that you're completely integrated online and offline. So wave your weird flag if you think it's weird. Wave your fitness. I remember I had a dilemma in New York City. Here was the dilemma. New York City is known for some of its fashion. People look good, the people were fit, people were definitely putting on their best. I look down and I'm Mr. Gym Shorts. I like wearing fitness attire because in Florida it's so hot, right? I want to move fluidly between going to the beach and not. That's authentic for me. And in Florida I can get away with that, but I was supremely concerned about whether or not I'd be able to get away with that in New York City. But I finally decided, you know what? This is who I am. I'm just going to do this. Man, there were people in clown suits, fairy suits, and I think we all just fit right in. They might have assumed I was a fitness dude. I don't know. But I wanted to be as integrated as possible. Authenticity is an absolute pillar of when you're trying to do community marketing. And then the fifth one is this. You have to keep in mind, if you're new to any sort of marketing, you probably think marketing is about being louder. And it's not. Now, I'm louder just because I'm louder, and that's integrated with who I am. I'm asked to quiet down in coffee shops. I'm that guy. I'm just like that. Not everyone is like that. I met several influencers, one of them, Ashley Decans. She's kind, she's witty on Twitter, but she's not outgoing and gregarious. She's fun, she's quiet, she likes to toke, she hangs out, she's definitely chill. But she has over 108,000 followers on Twitter. She's not louder. She's just more her. Boom. Aussie says you are literally how you are on screen. I try to remain integrated, Aussie, and I appreciate you saying that. Marketing and community as marketing starts first and foremost that you are you. You don't have to be wittier than you think you are. You don't have to be smarter or prettier or better put together. You just have to be you. But here's the interesting cycle. You start to crave to be a better version of yourself. So you do want to get better. You do want to improve, but you run and you thread a narrow thread when you try to improve without being inauthentic. And that's a good challenge. That's a good problem to have. Number one, the 5 quick principles that are building in me about communities marketing. Number one, go beyond niching. Niching's important. I'm not saying skip niching. Do your niching, but then go further. Talk about community. Don't think about niching in terms of who will give me money. You got to have that as a step, but then you need to have the next step. And who do I like? And who is like me? And who will like me for who I am? That's community. Number 2, look for psychographic traits, list them. But those psychographic traits should start with who you want to be, who you think you are, or at least ambitioning towards. And then look for that in others. That's the community as marketing. You might talk about pain you don't experience when you talk about niche. When you talk about niche, you're going to talk about pain. You don't experience that pain. If you're a website provider, I don't have a problem with my website, but I'm looking for people who have a problem with the website. That's a psychographic trait of a target niche. But think about that. They're a target. That's not community. Look for community for people like you. Number 3, move fluidly offline and online. Get comfortable with the tech. Keep experimenting with tech to find your community. Number 4, and therefore be authentic across platforms. Be completely who you are. And if you're not comfortable, push in until you get comfortable. You're not comfortable at anything you start out, but you have to push in until it was uncomfortable. The first 10 seconds meeting Aussie and meeting Jarrett. It was uncomfortable the first 10 seconds, but they put me at ease by being who they were. That was authenticity IRL and offline. Were we best friends? No. I'm sure they have best friends that they get along with better. I'm sure they have spouses and partners and dates and all kinds of stuff that I will never totally know. But there was a certain spot of authenticity across platforms and in real life. And lastly, you don't have to be louder. You have to be more you. And by being more you, you are targeting as specifically as you can people who will like you and who you will like. Why do I talk about this? I think the marketing world is changing dramatically and quickly. I think the impact that AI, technology in large, and crypto specifically is having on the marketing layer of small business is changing so dramatically that you have to actually start thinking about a community as a marketing pillar. And community is almost the opposite. You're deferring the transactional desire indefinitely when you do community building. We used to call it freemium, but it's so much beyond that. It's making friends. And why are we talking about this? You have to, and here's something that I will say, this is not easy. It's not easy to deprogram that the people you're talking to you want a transaction from. It's not easy. to convert a community to just paying you more, because if you're friends, they should be willing to pay more for your services instead of asking for a discount. I believe your community should be willing to pay a premium instead of asking for a discount because they're community. But not everyone operates that way. That paradigm does need to shift, and it is slowly shifting. But this is not easy because we are so programmed to try to figure out how to get money out of one person's pocket and put it into ours. And that does need to happen, honestly, if you have a business, if you have a service, if you have an NFT. That is what we're trying to do in a very nihilistic way. But if you can add community as marketing, you start to actually build on the grander vision, which is why I'm talking about any of this. Because the world out there needs your goods, your services, your idea, your vision, your gifts, your personality. The world needs that because the world is struggling for some insight. So why am I talking about any of this? Why do we talk about Not Crypto Bros tomorrow on Tuesday afternoons? Why do we talk about financial freedom? Why do I have this YouTube channel? Because I'm Grant Sparks, and I'm here to actually discover my own freedom and share with you the lessons I'm learning about financial freedom, time freedom, location freedom, but ultimately freedom of the soul. To enjoy this life and to move forward. And this is what I call igniting lives of explosive significance, starting with your own.